finally we're going to connect the tipping bucket to the data logger, but first we need to open the tipping bucket to make sure it's not locked. So you unscrew these screws on the sides. I've done that already to save some time. And then you remove this thing here. So you can see that reveals the tipping mechanism, which are these two buckets here. And then there's, for shipping purposes, these are shipped with this rubber band. So make sure you remove that rubber band, otherwise your bucket is not going to tip. Okay, it should be able to tip freely. So now these cables coming from the rainfall tipping bucket, they need to be connected to the data logger. So we can use the cabling diagram here to know which goes where. This is a very simple, it only has 3 cables. A black cable that goes to P1, which is a pulse sensor, and then a white cable and a clear cable that go to ground. Now that the tipping bucket is connected to the data logger, we have all the sensors connected and we plug back the data logger into the battery. Okay, so now we've taken all the tips of the sensors off and now data is being collected as we speak. The data logger is working. So we put the tipping bucket inside of this other bucket so that when we add water to test it, it doesn't spill all the water out. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to insert a memory card in here so that the data is all written into the memory card. So let's do that right now, since we're on camera. Okay. Okay, so now that we have everything connected and working, we're going to check out whether the data is being collected. We're going to first monitor the data. So let's just click on the monitor data tab there, please. And we want to make sure that there's a timestamp, there's a program name, and there's basically all the different variables in there: temperature, relative humidity, and rainfall. Now, we're going to leave this program running for a while so that we have some data coming from the sensors. So let's leave it for about an hour. But we have to do a test of the tipping bucket. So let's do that. Okay, so now we're going to test that the bucket is working correctly. The other sensors are collecting data from the environment, but since it's not raining inside the lab, we have to make artificial rain. So we have put in here approximately 300 cc's of water, and we're going to add that very slowly to the bucket. And as we add it, maybe you can hear it, the tipping mechanism starts tipping. That means it's raining, or it thinks it's raining. We'll keep adding the water, and then we're going to check later in the computer whether we get approximately, we should get about 10 millimeters of rain according to the amount of water that I've introduced in here. Maybe that was a little bit too fast. Try to do this, I'm doing it very fast, but try to do this in a period of about 15 minutes. Okay, now we've been collecting data for a little while and we're going to look at it. So why don't you go to collect data. Make sure CL data is selected and all data from data logger, and go ahead and hit collect. It will overwrite existing files, say yes. And now collection is complete. Let's look at it. It's easier to look at it in Excel. It's a comma delimited file. But if you have Excel in your machine, it's just easier to open it in Excel. So we're just going to do that quickly. It's a fixed delimited with comma and space. Okay, so now we can see all the variables and records. First we see here the time, and then we have the number of the record, and here we start having variables. So the first variable is the voltage of the battery, which is the minimum voltage. So that's good, it's about 12.5. Then we have the temperature. This is the average temperature during the 5-minute period, and this is the standard deviation. Then we have the relative humidity, and then we have the average of the second sensor and the relative humidity of the second sensor. Then we have the solar sensors here with their, in different units, average and standard deviation, and total radiation. And then finally here we have the rain. So we collected about 25 millimeters of rain by adding water to the tipping bucket. And all these other variables are sensors, sensor status, like if the fan is on and all that. So it looks like the sensors are working, even though there's some weird variables here, then they all look like they make sense. Okay, so it looks like everything is working. So we're gonna get all these cables disconnected, and we're gonna get ready for taking all this equipment tomorrow to the field, okay?
Okay.
All right, cool.